Well, hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Thank you for joining me again for another live Q&A session here on my channel. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Angela. I am a full-time voiceover artist and audiobook narrator, and my channel is dedicated to those of you just getting started out in this wonderful world of voiceover and audiobook narration. And through my channel, I share with you some tips and tricks and techniques that I do every day in my own voiceover business. And I answer your questions in these live Q&A sessions. And now with also shorter intro, if you hadn't noticed. If you're not new here, then apart from the shorter intro, then we have a poll every week. And this week, the poll is, because I get asked about editing a lot, how do you feel about your editing skill or process? Editing is something that, for me anyway, took a long time to master. Because again, you hear everybody else talking about it. So you think, okay, well, that's something I shouldn't be doing, or this is an effect I should be adding, or maybe I should be cutting out all my breaths, or, you hear all these things that people are talking about. So you try to address them in your own editing, sometimes to your own detriment, right? A little too much editing. There is a fine line. And it's very easy to over edit, let me tell you. So that's what we're going to be talking about today is editing. So if you have any editing specific questions, then please add them in the comments. If you have any interesting tidbits, maybe some effects or skills or shortcuts that have worked for you in your DAW and your editing process, then please share them. But as far as the poll goes, we have about 28 votes so far. Looks like 14% of you said I am satisfied with my editing. And I think could put me in that group as well. I'm satisfied. It's never going to be perfect, right? But I am satisfied with my editing, right? 52% of you said, okay, but I'm still learning, which I am too, I think. So I'm probably in both of those. 31% of you said I'm completely lost. And I feel those comments. I feel those votes. I do. Because it is, especially in the beginning, when you're hearing all these people say, do this, but don't do that, do this, but don't do that, watch out for this, there's just too much information. It's like information overload, and you don't know what to do or what not to do. But it looks like more than half of you said, okay, like I'm comfortable with it, but I am still learning. And I think we should always be learning, right? There's no reason to ever stop learning. There's a lot to learn. All right, cool. So we're going to be talking about editing today. So let's go over to the comments and see who's first in. Joya's first in today. How you doing? Joya says, pass 1. Remove noises, retakes, adjust volume, move characters to their own track, add 100+ markers for sound effects and music. Pass 2, add sound effects and music. Pass 3, listen and make final tweaks. Done. Well, Joya is in a whole different category because she does a lot of mixing and adding of soundtrack effects, multiple dialogue tracks. And I could see the purpose of all the different passes. But if you have just a single track, it's just you, no music, no sound effects. You're not doing anything other than just editing. And we're talking about an audiobook here. And if you're just editing through one track, right, I would try to do all of that. Maybe not all of that, because she does a whole lot more than normal. I would try to do everything in one pass to save you some time. And I've heard a lot of people that have told me over the years that they do multiple passes for just a single dialogue file, one audiobook file, multiple passes for multiple reasons. And I think if you can find a way to get everything done in one pass, you will save a considerable amount of time. For example, have had someone tell me that for a 30-minute audio track, it takes them hours and hours to get through. Why? Because they do multiple passes for multiple reasons, right? So pass 1 would be adding an effect. Pass 2 would be removing mistakes. Pass 3 would be adjusting pauses. Pass 4 would be a final listen through, or add a few more passes for other reasons in there before the final pass through, and that would take them hours, understandably. But if you can find a way to do everything in one pass, meaning have an effects rack already built, which that in and of itself takes a little bit of trial and error and time. But once you have an effect rack, your noise suppression, your EQ, anything else that you need to add, if you have that already set and in place, you apply that, everything all at once, then go through it once and adjust your pauses, remove your retakes, right? Double check that you didn't say something wrong, proof it even as you go through it if you want to. And then, adjust the head and the tail of the file and then normalize it to -3. Check the amplitude statistics to make sure that your RMS is in the right place, that your noise floor is in the right place, and then move on to the next file, right? If you could see how that would save you a considerable amount of time. But Joya's in a whole different category. She's doing lots more. And then she says, I love editing. You are in a very small pool, Joya. I don't really know anybody else that loves the editing process. It's not bad when you do it right and have an easy process that involves many quick keys and creativity, for sure. And I've mentioned before that I've had an audio engineer, Tim Tippett, create a couple of shortcuts for me and help with developing an equalizer, a parametric equalizer for my Adobe Audition. And that has saved a lot of time also. Tristan is here. Hey, Tristan. I'd love to be a little sharper with my editing. Sometimes I'm just out there clicking buttons. Yeah, I can relate. I've been there. Looking to practice, focus, excuse me, and dial it in here soon. And you will get there, Tristan. It takes a lot of practice. And as I mentioned before, trial and error. And once you find a process that works for you, you can then apply that process to everything else going forward. So once you get to that sweet spot, right, where your effects all work, in harmony with each other, and you have a process that works for you, like I mentioned before, at just doing everything in one pass, it'll save you so much time. Froggy today. And, right, you'll get through audiobooks or really anything much faster. You can get that audition turned in much faster, right? If you have a good editing process. I don't know why I'm so froggy this morning. It's probably because of the monsoon. It was very thundery and we had a little storm pass over this morning. Love it. Tristan then says, good morning, Vietnam. I know that's what I feel like when I say good morning. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. That's who I'm channeling. Little Robin Williams there. It's been a busy few days on camera commercial auditions, so I haven't gotten a chance to hop back in the booth in a bit, but today we're back. That's awesome. Yes, it's always a good day to hop back in the booth, right? Matthew's here. Hey, Matthew. Hi, Angela. I can't seem to find authors or those seeking voiceover artists on Fiverr or ACX. Do you know the procedure or other sites where I can audition and not just have a profile with demos? I recommend having, if you like to do the pay-to-play site or the freelance marketplaces, is to have your profile on any place that will allow you a free profile. And then at some point, if you want to upgrade your membership to be a paid membership where you can actually audition, because keep in mind, the sites like voices.com, Voice123, those sites will allow you to have a free profile there, but you can't audition until you're a paying member, right? And some of those are even tiered, like the base paying members, which is still, in some places or some instances, $500 a year. You see those auditions last, but if you're the $5,000 level, excuse me, then you see the auditions first. So I suggest having profiles on pay-to-play sites and freelance marketplaces, but don't rely on them. Do some marketing of your own. Search out people that need a voice actor. Search them out on LinkedIn. Research some companies on Google. You don't have to, be married to these pay-to-play sites. Go find the work on your own, right? Get active in social media and start connecting with other audiobook narrators, which in turn the algorithm will start to show you to some of the other indie authors that follow them. For example, TikTok, Book Talk, right? That whole side of TikTok is nothing but audiobook narrators, indie authors, publishers, casting directors, and readers, right? So get involved in social media and start finding the work for yourself. Hope that helps, Matthew. Rustic Hillbilly, Mernon. Good morning, Rustic Hillbilly. I hope you're doing well. Marilyn Maat, greetings all. Greetings, Marilyn. Glad you're here. Pamela says howdy. Howdy, Pamela. Hope you're doing well. I thought this was the funniest username ever. Joey Bag of Donuts, aka Jem Cecil. How you doing, my friend? Hi, Angela and everyone. I am the school that if you think you know it all, you don't. Always learning. And I 150% agree with that. Because you can't know it all, right? Even if you're years in, like myself, a little over 5 years now, I still don't know everything. I'm never going to say that I do. I'm never going to say that I am like at the pinnacle of all that needs to be known about this industry or any other, because I don't. Even if I was 20 years in, I probably wouldn't still know everything. So always be learning, not only for the learning aspect, but also, things evolve. Times change, terminology changes, trends change. So, and you wouldn't know that unless you were open-minded and always learning, right? Always staying active and learning from others. Great point, Jim. Facebook user, this is Colette. Good morning, Colette. How are you? Phil says, hey, Angela. Hey, all. Hey, Phil. Good to see you. Christy Sells is in the house. Good afternoon. Good morning. I feel like editing takes forever. I've been working on figuring out how to make it go faster. I think it depends on what your current process is. Maybe we can touch on that on Thursday in our Platinum group. Maybe we can talk about quickly dive a little bit deeper into this, perhaps. It depends on what DAW you're using, right? Because if you're using Adobe Audition, then it should be a pretty much an easy suggestion for you. But that's what worked for me, is sort of consolidating all the steps into one singular pass through. Saved me a lot of time. A lot of time. Mary's here. Good morning, Mary. Platinum Group is representing. Good morning, Angela and everyone. Happy Tuesday. Yes, happy Tuesday. Phil says, hey, Joya. So froggy today. Facebook user, this is Colette. I feel I have about a speck of editing skill. And you know what? Don't feel bad about that. That's completely normal and just part of the process, right? Learning all of these new things. There's so much to learn in getting into anything new. And there's a lot of moving parts and aspects and variables. There's a lot to this. So just keep at it, keep practicing, and you will get there. You'll get to a position where you feel satisfied and comfortable, right? Never perfect, but satisfied. Isabel. Hi, Isabel. Hello, everyone. Taking a few days from the 9 to 5, so hope to submit a few more auditions, and of course, taking a break, as you should. As you should. You should take breaks, right? Everybody needs a little R&R. I think we don't do that enough, right? We just work, especially if you're self-employed. Or if you're self-employed and, could you technically? No, I don't think you could. It would be more like a side hustle or something, right? It'd be like a part-time voiceover thing, and then you're fully, employed with somebody else. Either way, especially if you're burning the candle at both ends, if you're working 2 jobs and take a break every once in a while, my goodness. Recharge. Yeah, don't burn yourself out before you really even get going with one or the other, right? Goodness. Chrissy says, 20 minutes of audio seems to take me 45 minutes to an hour to edit sometimes. And that's still pretty normal. But as you continue to keep going and practicing, you'll start to find little shortcuts, little things that maybe you could, like macro steps make into sort of like a micro, or the other way around. Multiple steps, you can really get down into one step. As I mentioned before, instead of a singular pass just to add effects and then another pass to cut out, retakes and then another pass to proof it or whatever, do all of that in just one pass. It might take a little bit longer, but in the overall scheme of things, you're not spending hours and hours and hours to listen through 30 minutes of a file, right? Of an audio file. You're spending maybe an hour to get through that 30 minutes if you're doing all of that in one pass, but 1 hour is still better than 2 or 3 or 4, right? And then as you start to get more skilled and know exactly what you're looking at and what to do, then that will even, get shorter as you go, right? That time. Just keep going, keep practicing, Chrissy. Supernatural elements. First time here. Well, welcome. I'm getting a bit discouraged because I've submitted several auditions on ACX, but have been passed over for the first 3 and still have 5 more that I've not heard back after days. Don't be discouraged. That is completely normal. As with any business, this is a numbers game. And if you are rejected or passed over, it's not necessarily because you don't sound good or your audio quality is not up to snuff. It may be that you're just not the voice they were looking for. I mean, you have to remember, authors spend years sometimes writing these books. They put a lot of their heart, their soul, their time, blood, sweat, and tears into writing these books. And they have a particular voice, maybe a few different voices in their head as they're writing this book. And they're looking for someone who could capture the essence of that voice. And if it's not you, then it's not you. It doesn't mean that you're bad at this, right? So keep going. It's a numbers game. Keep auditioning. Give yourself a daily goal, a weekly goal, whatever it is, and just audition that many times. You're shooting for about a 10%, right? 10% of the auditions that you submit, you'll see a return on, roughly 10%. So just keep auditioning. Just keep swimming. Don't be discouraged. Just keep going. Caesar says, oh, hi. Oh, hi, Angela. Hi, everyone. Here's something I'm actually very confident about. Despite the fact that I know I have much to learn, it's process I develop quickly and with great enthusiasm. Well, that's great. I love that attitude, Caesar. I think everyone should have enthusiasm about everything that they do. It helps get the job done, right? It's like the spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down, right? Having enthusiasm about everything you do makes it a little bit easier to get done. I love that. And yes, we all still, at any stage, still have probably a lot to learn. Terry's here. Hey, Terry. Editing chapter 1 as we speak. Listen. That's awesome, Terry. Great job. I don't want to distract you too much. I'm sure you've got work to get done. Dylan's here. Good morning, Dylan. Good morning from the broom closet. I've done half a dozen audiobooks and my editing has gotten better each time. I like to always improve, but I feel comfortable with my skill level. Well, that's good. That is always something that I am very, it takes a lot of pressure off your shoulders, right? When you're comfortable with your editing process, when it works and it doesn't take a ton of time, right? When you feel like this is something that I have finally maybe not mastered, but I'm comfortable with the process and it works. I meet all of the necessary formatting standards. It sounds good, right? It's not super evenly paced. It sounds like a normal conversation. And that just takes so much pressure off. It just, builds back in that enthusiasm that you had probably initially at the beginning when you had a lot of enthusiasm about starting this, and then there's a little bit discouragement along the way. But when you get the confidence back and that enthusiasm and that drive to keep going because you've finally mastered one aspect of it, it's an amazing feeling. So I'm glad that you're comfortable with it. But yes, we can always still improve. Hey, Kelsey. Hey, Kelsey, how you doing? Hey, Angela. Starting a day job tomorrow to help supplement my career. I love that. VO is a little crazy right now with the strikes and AI, et cetera. It is, but again, this too shall pass. We'll get through it. This is temporary. Just keep going, because not all VO is affected by the strikes, just particular types. So just keep going. Don't lose faith. Just keep at it. And if it is a little bit slow, and I have heard a lot of people say that it's a little bit slow right now, as I've mentioned many times before, in the slumps or the slow time, work on your demos, refresh your demos, do your best to learn. This is the time to train yourself, to build your knowledge, to get involved with groups and get some feedback. This is the time to nurture and build and, right, work on your website, work on your profile, start refreshing all of this stuff. So when this actually does finally pass this cloud that we're under, then you'll be ready. You'll be ready for what comes next. So don't ever sit idle and twiddling your thumbs and, just keep going. Look at it as an opportunity to work on the rest of your business, to refresh it, to make it polished and shiny. But I get it. Eric. What's up, Eric? Cruise Director Eric. Good morning. Editing can be daunting in the beginning, but it will become muscle memory, and you'll get much faster very quickly. I agree. It does sort of become muscle memory, doesn't it? Because you know exactly, especially once you're at that comfortable place with your DAW, you know what everything does. And it's sort of just like, you know what you're looking for. You know what everything does. Maybe not everything, but the things that are pertinent to what you're doing, you know what those are and what they do. So it makes it a little bit easier to just kind of do it. You can almost do it with your eyes closed. I wouldn't recommend that. But it does sort of become muscle memory. Mary HPVO says, I have Pro Tools DAW and find it very hard to find information for VO work. One day I'll move over to Audition. I have to tell you, that's one of the main reasons that I chose Audition. I think the fact that it was just someone had handed it to me and said, here, try this one, because I was using Audacity, and finding it sort of difficult, right? It was very frustrating to use. For me, especially as a beginner, nothing really made sense anyway, but somebody said, here, try Audition. And I tried it. And then at the same time, I noticed that everybody, excuse me, everybody that I was watching on YouTube and everybody that I was talking to was using Adobe Audition. So that is one of the main reasons why I stuck with it, because I figured if those people are using it, then whatever they tell me to do, whatever I need to learn, will be an easy transition for me to use in my DAW, because I can directly take what they're saying and apply it to my situation. It would just make it a little bit easier for me. Yeah, it's a subscription-based DAW, but to me, it's so worth it if you're using it hour after hour, day after day, week after week, year after year, so on and so forth. It's just, there's going to be cost to having a business, and it's worth it to me. But you're right. I don't see a whole lot of Pro Tools being talked about. Reaper and Audition for sure, and Audacity, but not so much Pro Tools. Angela, hey, great name. Angela Elder says, I did learn somewhere that some people copy and paste room tone to replace breaths. I tried that in Audacity, but it is obvious when listening, something has happened. You know what? I agree. I do the same. I take, after I've processed my file with the effects, meaning any kind of noise suppression or just to control my room, my noise floor. Once I have that part done, I take a little bit of clean room tone and then use that to copy and paste wherever it needs to be. Like if I need to add an additional pause, or if there's a big grody breath that I need to remove, I'll paste in a little bit of room tone. So I do the same, and I find it works very well. That also keeps the room tone consistent throughout the file instead of having silence. Never copy and paste in silence. Don't use silence. It sounds very artificial and weird, and ACX might even call you out on it and have you redo it. So just use room tone. It'll be a better overall consistent sound. But I know what you mean about Audacity, because when you're copying in something, you can't really see where the breaths start and stop. So the result is usually, when you're listening back, is that there's a rough edit. You can hear the cut mid-breath. Like it'll just be, and it'll be cut out. And then I totally know what you mean. And that's something that's going to have to come with patience, practice, and not skill, but a lot of trial and error, I suppose, because you're going to have to zoom like way into the waveform to see where the breath starts, where it stops and then get it perfectly in there. So I understand that 100%. And using Audition with the spectral display, I can see exactly where those breaths are and I can paste in the room tone. It's another reason why I really like Audition. Terry says, I'm using Audition. The spectral frequency display is a game changer for those of us with less than optimal hearing. And I love it too. I love the spectral frequency display because you can also see, and this is gross, but you can see the mouth noise too. And God knows I have a lot of it. So it's probably the coffee, but that's okay. I'll take it. But, there is a plugin also, the mouth declick from Isotope RX. Love it. But anyway, with the spectral display in Audition, you can see mouth noise. You can see, throat gurgles. You can see all of the stuff that you need to address that you might not see in a basic waveform. So yes, spectral frequency display is my best friend. Caesar says, I have 9 years of experience in video, 11 in sound engineering, 27 in photo and graphic design. Editing in any shape and form is my zen. It is my comfort space, but I still hate listening to my voice. I don't know if that ever goes away because I do the same. 5 years later, I still have the same issue. I'll listen to it if I have to, if I'm doing the editing and just to make sure that it sounds okay before I send it off to a client, obviously. But if I have to listen to it after that, it's just like, ugh, right? Because then you start judging and you start going, well, I could have done it different, and man. And then you just start hating on yourself, and just don't do that. You're a voice actor now. You're just going to have to become accustomed to listening to your voice outside of your head, which is hard because it sounds different and you're unfamiliar with it and it's just cringy. But it will get better, but I don't know if that ever completely goes away. Unless you like hearing yourself speak, then that's something completely different. But I don't. So I'm with you there, Caesar. And it sounds like you have a lot of other experience with other types of digital media. So I would definitely offer those as well. If you have a profile on Fiverr, use some of that other skill set, to offer to other people as well to help supplement your income. Faux show. Deanna says, every week this is at the same time as another meeting. Wish my Gemini self could actually split. Love listening and learning. Oh, I'm sorry. I tried to time this because the people that I follow on YouTube, I don't know if it's like a work meeting or if there's somebody else on YouTube that is on the same time as me. I tried to time this between other people's like normal, regular scheduled lives. So that way I wasn't, stepping on anybody's toes. So I apologize for that. Maybe it's a work meeting, I'm hoping. Michael V says, I trained for audio engineering, so I like it. Oh, that's cool. You should be offering that to other people too. People could use some help. Barb Cam says, good morning, Angela. Good morning, Barb. I am so too picky, which takes up a lot of time. My goal is to get better faster and make it simpler. Any advice is helpful. Yeah, the overdoing it is really easy to do because you have to just let go. You have to just get to the point where it's okay. It passes all the standards that it needs to fit, right? All the formatting standards are correct. There's nothing major in it that's distracting to the ear, like, a throat gurgle or a big fish breath or something. The mouth noise isn't there. I mean, a little bit is fine, but if it's just like a big, in the middle of something, even probably that is fine because I'm too picky and I remove all the mouth noise, but some of it's probably just fine. I think we're too hard on ourselves was what I'm getting at. So it's really easy to over edit. And what really helped me, Barb, is listening to other audiobooks. A lot of audiobooks. And then I'm listening to these and I go, oh, well, this guy has a lot of breaths in, or this lady has she's kind of sibilant, but it doesn't really bother me. Or this guy has a lot of like mouth smacking, but it's really not as bad as I thought it was. So, and then you start to go, okay, well, I guess that's not a big a deal. And I just won't make as big a deal about it in my own editing. Right. So if you listen to a lot of audiobooks and you just realize that what we think is bad is not really reality, And you just have to like let go of what we think is bad and just edit it so it sounds good to you. Like it flows nice. It has nice pauses in it. There's no big fish breaths in it. If it's a big long run on sentence and you're having to take a big breath, all the mistakes are gone. I mean, it's just humans telling other humans a story. So as long as the author is happy with it and you've hit all of the right buttons with the author and you can meet ACX's standards, let the rest of that stuff go, right? Don't drive yourself nuts with something that doesn't really matter in the end, right? Oh, we got a super chat. Hold on. I think I know who this is. This is Sean Lester. Hi, Sean. How you doing? Hold on a second. I have to make sure my air conditioner on because it's getting muggy in here. Let's do this. Let's crank this up a bit because with the storm this morning, it's like humid in here. Sean says, what would you say your ratio of recording to editing is now compared to when you were new to this? 90 minutes per 60 finished minutes. Easy for you to say. I would say when I first started out, I was at a 1:5 ratio, meaning for like every hour, it would take me 5 hours. And I think that's completely normal. I think a lot of people at the beginning, we just like zero in on every microsecond and we're just adjusting and constantly adjusting, constantly fixing, And again, we don't really need to do all that, right? Because in the end, it ends up sounding artificial and just yucky, right? But now I would say I'm at about a 1.5 to 2 to 1, right? So every hour, and that's finished. That's a finished hour. That's everything within 1 hour. So within 1 hour of finished audio, I spend about an hour and a half to 2 hours narrating, editing, mastering, formatting. Because I've practiced, because I've got to the point where I'm comfortable with my process and it works, right? So you will get there. As Eric said before, it just takes, just constantly doing it and finding, and even, again, getting with an audio engineer to help you develop some shortcuts and some presets and to help kind of shorten that time period for you and make you sound good in the process. All right. Yes, it's an investment, but this is a business that you're building. There's going to be investments that are going to help you improve and see more success, right? There's nothing wrong with that. I hope that answered your question, Sean. I feel a little scatterbrained this morning. Yeah, what else is new, right? Good question, though. Good question. Okay. Let's go back to where we left off. Oh my goodness, there's so many comments. Okay, hold on, guys. Lost my spot. Oh my gosh. So many comments. Okay, here we are. I think, did we leave off on Barb? Caesar says, much like Joya, I love editing too. It's like modeling with clay, except you have nothing to shove into your left nostril. Why are you doing? I don't think you're doing it right. Watching something very rough take shape is a very fulfilling process. Yeah, for some people. But that's cool. I mean, I don't know a whole lot of people who enjoy that process, but if you do, that's great. Terry says, I've jumped in with punch and roll on my audiobook. It seems to be saving lots of time. It scared me at first, but once I figured out Audition's P&R functionality, it's pretty easy. So you are far more coordinated than I am, Terry, or maybe just the whole old dog, new tricks thing. I don't know what it is, but I just can't get into punch and roll. And that's fine. Because there's not one way to do anything in this business. You do it the way that works for you. It's the beautiful thing. So if you are of the clicker squad, much like myself, and you use a clicker, a dog training clicker, to mark your mistakes and just move on with life and then just edit them out in post, that's fine. Or if you want to do punch and roll where you edit out the mistakes as you're going, do that too, right? I just can't, I'm not coordinated for that. I've tried it a few times, but I just can't wrap my head around it. Kara says, little late, but I made it. Good to see you here, Kara. Glad you made it. Janeri. What's up, Janeri? Hi, Angela. I completed 4 projects with Fiverr. Good job. It's been consistent so far. I'm so happy. Thank you for the encouragement. Well, I'm proud of you, Janeri. And that's fabulous. That's fabulous. I'm glad it's consistent. Great to hear. Matthew Russell is here. Thanks for the current info. I was so frustrated. Yeah, don't let it get the better of you. Because just remind yourself, give yourself some grace, and just remind yourself that you are learning something new. This is something new and foreign, and it's going to take time to learn and to, get good at, right? So don't be frustrated with it. Well, it is a little frustrating. It's a little overwhelming and frustrating, but it does get easier with practice. Phil says, embarrassing story. Not long after I started narrating, I learned how to pass all ACX requirements. I thought I had it in the bag, but kept getting rejected. Little did I know, my reverb was horrible. Yes, and this, I feel your pain, Phil. But I can also tell you that this is where having groups that you can be involved with, that can you can share demos live with, or have ask for feedback on. This is where those people with the ear and different perspectives and interpretations will give you a feedback and advice. Because again, if you're just accustomed to the way that you sound, you might not notice the reverb. You might not notice that you're very sibilant. You might not notice that, the TV from the next door apartment could be heard through your recording, unless someone else hears it because they're not accustomed to it and says, hey, you might want to work on this issue because it's very evident and it's, sort of distracting, right? So getting involved in groups is important, not only for that aspect, for your own, mental sanity. It feels good to have people understand and that can relate and share information. So groups are important, very important. Caesar says to Terry, I still don't understand punch and roll. I've watched a lot of mixed martial arts and the process still doesn't make sense to me. I might just be incredibly confused. You're not alone, Caesar. I mean, I get how it works. I just can't. I'd rather just click, redo, do the retake and move on and then just cut it out and post. Writer Dude says, good morning. Was running a few minutes late. That's okay. If you're late, you bring donuts. I hope you have the donuts. I hope you bring enough for everybody. There's 40 people in here, so I hope you have enough donuts for everyone, Writer Dude. And one for me too, because I love donuts. Caesar says, good morning, Writer Dude. What's up? Have you written anything good lately? Kelsey V says, you can audition for free with Voices 123. I've gotten clients off of there, but you don't get a choice of auditions. The number of submitted auditions is limited. Deadlines are short. Yeah, and that's pretty common. I mean, as far as the deadlines I've seen anyway, the ones that I've seen have been pretty short, like 9-10 hours, right? So, right. And a lot of these pay-to-play sites are formatted differently. Like some will have longer deadlines, shorter deadlines. Maybe there's a mixture of both. Some will let you audition, some will not. They're all different. And that is why I say before signing up with any site, make sure that you understand how all of that works, right? If you're allowed to audition, if you can't, unless you sign up, how you're paid, if you need to invoice the client, if the site collects the money and holds it in escrow and then releases it when the job is done. How do you get paid? I think that is one of the most important things to look for, right? Yeah, but they're all different. They're all structured a little bit differently. Sunny's here. Hey, Sunny. Using a clicker is a game changer. I need multiple takes to get something right, so punch and roll is too clunky. Then editing out the repeats becomes a lot easier to spot. Then I have a clean, raw file. Same. And again, it doesn't matter which one you choose, which way you do it. Whichever way you choose to do it is right. Just do whatever is easier for you, because we're all a little bit different in the way that we function, right? Faux show. Writer Dude to Caesar says, nothing that is family friendly or that I could share on YouTube. Interessante, Writer Dude. Inquiring minds want to know. Sunny says, so once you have a clean raw file, Angela, you recommend applying all effects, normalizing, and then listening once through. Here's the order in which I do it, Sunny. I record it, save it, as so it's a clean raw wave file, right? And I always recommend keeping that raw file in case you have to come back to it and do a revision to it or something. So you have something clean and basic to start with. And then once that's saved, I apply all my effects. Once that's done, I go through it once, adjust the pauses. I'll get some of that good clean room tone after the effects are applied. And then I'll go through it and remove all the retakes, adjust the pauses, add the appropriate time to the head and the tail, right? And then after that's all done, I will normalize it to -3. That's always the last step. And then I'll test it in my amplitude statistics to make sure that my RMS is correct, that my noise floor is correct, excuse me, and my peaks are correct. And if they are, then I save it as an MP3. That makes a whole new file, right? So you have the clean raw wave, and then you have the finished ready to go MP3. And then I move on to the next file. That's my editing process. And with the clicks, so as you're recording, if you use the clicker method, as you're recording and you do multiple retakes like me and a few other people do, the click is recorded as a gigantic spike in the waveform as you're going through it. And there's no mistaking it. You can see it. It's just, a clean straight line or two lines because it makes two clicks essentially. So you can see that as an indicator of, okay, there's a retake, okay, here's the final one. That's the right one. So then you can delete everything preceding that. For me, that is just the way that I do it. And it's always worked for me. And that's kind of how I do it now. Caesar says, I'm planning on picking up a new microphone this week or next because I have a problem. And I'm excited to see how I can shape the tone with EQ. That should tell you how much editing excites me. I have to know, though, what's the problem and which microphone? What are you getting? Matthew says, as a YouTuber with in-studio recording, would you trust a vlogging kit? A vlogging kit. I'm not sure what that is. Is that sort of like a microphone interface bundle sort of a thing? I think a lot of those kits, if that's what you're referring to, I think a lot of those kits are just fine if you're doing like YouTube stuff. But again, if you're planning on using that stuff for voiceover too, I think it would still be fine. But most importantly, it doesn't really matter what microphone you're using. It's the space that you're recording in was the most important aspect. Because whether it's a $50 microphone versus a $5,000 microphone, if you have tons of echo and it sounds boxy and nothing is treated, then they're both going to sound poopy. Right? Doesn't matter if it's a $50 microphone or a $5,000 microphone. Everything's going to sound just not right. So treat your space. That's more important than which microphone you use, in my humble opinion. Supernatural Element says, LOL, I have to just keep swimming tattooed on my arm. That's cool. You have just keep swimming tattooed on your arm. That's sweet. Hey, it works, right? JCC AOL says, hi, Angela. A podcast I came across called Gates of Imagination has a list from both Bram Stoker and Mary Shelley that may interest you. Oh, it does. Gates of Imagination. And it's a podcast. Is it like they're reading these books that are in the public domain? Or is it like they're discussing these authors? Either way, I'm interested. I might have to check that one out afterward. Thank you for that, JCCA. You guys know me so well. Love that stuff. Facebook user, this is Colette. She says, I got passed over once because I sounded too much alike the juvenile female lead. It was nice to get that feedback, but most auditions are not that responsive. And you're right, they're not. We really can't expect authors to take all the time that they're already spending listening through possibly hundreds of auditions to expect them to then in turn write back nice notes to all of us. I think they're going to listen through the first couple of seconds of each And in that first couple of seconds, they're going to know if your voice is the right one or close to the right one, right? And then they'll have maybe a pool of 5 to 10, and then they'll narrow that down even further. That's still a lot of work for them. We can't expect them to spend all the time to write us feedback on all of our auditions. That's just, but it's nice when they do. It's really nice when they do. It's very helpful when they do, but we can't expect them to. Caesar says, I realized my first greeting this morning was rife with misspelling and missing words. How embarrassing. You guys know I'm a big book nerd, and I'm a stickler on spelling. If you guys notice that, as in two, like me too, TOO is now like losing the last O. It's just two, TO. That drives me insane. So I totally know what you're talking about, but I get it. Sometimes we're just fat fingering and it's fine. I totally know what you meant. But yes, yes. Chrissy Sells, just keep swimming. Yes. Oh, I like little fish. That's right. Just keep swimming, guys. Just go. Just keep going. Just do it. Supernatural Element says, LOL. I have just keep swimming tattooed on my arm with Dory, of course. Oh, with Dory too? That's awesome. How do I know if I need to improve my audio quality or aspects of my voice? Join a group. My Facebook group, actually, the VO Workshop. If you join that, I allow you to share demos for feedback from everybody else there. Now, some people are going to have different opinions about things. So if you do ask for feedback and you get the feedback, and some of it is, maybe not what you were expecting to hear, but some people want to be brutally honest with you, and it may be something you need to hear. But what I'm saying is when you do get feedback from any place, take it with a grain of salt, right? Take it all in and then try to make a picture about the overall statement, right? Are a lot of people saying that I have a lot of echo? Okay, maybe I need to, fix my room up a little bit better. Or a lot of people saying that I'm a little bit sibilant. Okay, maybe I need to work on adjusting my EQ to attack some of that sibilance, right? So joining groups is a great thing. Get some feedback from others for sure. Caesar says, I love swimming, but last time I swam, I accidentally inhaled a small fish. I hate it when that happens. Supernatural Element says, because I can't work south. I'm not sure what that means. I can't work south. I'm not sure what that means. Did we miss something? Kara Hayden says, I'd love to stay, but trying to get a book finished before it gets too hot. See you Thursday. Okay. Bye, Kara. You're probably already gone, but thank you for being here as long as you were. I appreciate you. Janelle is here. Hi, Janelle. Hi, Angela and Angelinians. I'm learning as I go and reference your tips. Thank you. The more I do it, the more I learn, and it builds confidence and helps me provide better quality results. Perfectly stated, Janelle. The more you practice, the more you learn, the more you get feedback from others and work with your peers, right? And then eventually at some point, you can even get some training and some coaching to supplement that growth. You will get better. It's just a part of the process, right? So don't ever hate on yourself in the beginning when you think, oh, I sound like crap and I get a poopy microphone, and all of that will continue to get better the more you work at it. It's part of the process. Just keep swimming. John Peterson says, good morning. Thank you for everything you do for other narrators. I'm finally getting things moving. Normal account is Nightly Virtue. Had a question about how you treat your space acoustically. That's such a fun word, acoustically. I have had several iterations of treatment in here, but the one that you sort of see now behind me is I have acoustic tile foam on my walls. And then I took moving blankets and then just draped the entire room in moving blankets. It was cost effective, it was fast, and it's effective. So it's not sound proof, but it's sound treated. So no reverb, no echo. I mean, I have the door open now, so I don't know if you hear any echo, but that's the hallway behind me and my door's closed. But also keep in mind that you want to I want to note if you have hardwood floors, or also address the ceiling above you. If you have a gigantic desk in front of you or a monitor, these things will also reflect. So I have one of those gigantic like gaming mouse pads on my desk surface, which helps to reduce some of the reverb from my desk in front of me. So just think about those things. Treat any hard, flat surfaces in your space that will create an echo, especially in a small room, because your voice is bouncing all around these tight little quarters and lots of opportunity for echo. Kelsey says, Caesar, free lunch. And he inhaled your fish. Sunny says, sushi time. Sunny didn't say that I said that, but Sunny says, I'm finding that editing is the easiest part of VO. Easiest does not mean easy. I can see your point in that, because there's so many other aspects to voiceover, right? Things to think about and interpret and to retake, and I get it. Yeah, editing. Yeah, I don't know if I would. There's got to be a better word than easiest. Least frustrating? Maybe not, because it is pretty frustrating at times too. I don't know. But I hear you. Dwight's here too. Hey, Dwight. Hi, Angela. The editing is slow, but I am getting better and better. Like my demos there, they are rudimentary. I'm having my effect rack being set up by an audio engineer. That's great. That's great. And actually, I wanted to note, I saw you and a couple other people in Bill DeWeese's live this morning. I was watching it. I didn't say anything. I should have wanted to say hi to Bill, but I've been following Bill DeWeese for years, and I love him. He's awesome. But that's great. I highly recommend doing that when you get to the point that you can, because again, they are an investment, but you'll be so thankful that you did, because having that aspect kind of shortcutted and figured out and sounding the best that you can with an audio engineer, it's so worth it moving forward, because you're going to be using those every day for everything moving forward for possibly years. So it's definitely worth the investment. That's great, Dwight. Caesar says, Angelinians. We need like an old-fashioned seal with Angelinians and some kind of Latin slogan to go with it, like Credo qui absurdum est. Okay, I think so. I think we do. But no, my introvert's going, no, let's not do that. That's icky. A DAW. Yeah. I try to be mindful when I talk about a DAW and explain it's a digital audio workstation, DAW. That is the recording software that you use. I often forget, because it's just lingo that I use every day. I sometimes forget to explain what it means. But a DAW, DAW, is your digital audio workstation. So Adobe Audition, Reaper, Pro Tools, right? There's several of them out there, Audacity, but that's what that is. It definitely needs more wasabi. Musical Neptunian says, two supernatural elements, digital audio workstation. Thank you. Basically software that processes audio, that records, processes, edits your audio. Yes. Kelsey says, Angela, does ACX do royalty shares only, or do they have a per finished hour options? ACX actually will, they do. They offer royalty share, per finished hour, and royalty share plus, which is a hybrid of the two. So royalty share plus is basically where you get sort of a lower per finished hour rate to start. So you have something to cover your time, and the 20% of royalties going forward for the 7 years. So there's a few different options. So this is why ACX asks for your banking information, because that is where they're going to deposit any kind of royalty shares that you earn. And then also you want to have a way to invoice the client for per finished hour books or royalty share plus, because that per finished hours needs to be invoiced by you. So I use PayPal Business, never had an issue. It's fabulous. But just keep that in mind. So if you're working with ACX, they have the 3 different pay type options. So they're going to need your bank information, and you need a way to invoice them. So QuickBooks Wave. Is it Wave or Waves? I think it's Wave. Square. Is it Squarespace? We just had a meeting about this not too long ago, but there's a lot of different ways to invoice clients to make sure you have one of those available also. Phil says to Angela Elder, on Audacity, you can punch, copy, and punch paste to remove breaths, and it won't sound obvious. Well, there you go. See, I love it when everybody shares information. That's fabulous. I am Paximus. Hi, Angela. Good morning. How are you doing today? You know what? I slept really well last night, so I am just bright-eyed and bushy-tailed today. Miracle and stuff. Oh, I'm at work and not at a meeting. It is a miracle. It seems like we have meetings about meetings. Back in the day when I was working for someone else, it was meetings about having other meetings and stuff. Glad to be here with you and all. Poll, I'm a good editor, not sure about narrator. I think you don't give yourself enough credit, Paximus. I don't think any of us do, especially in the beginning. We're so hard on ourselves, and we shouldn't be. We should not be. We are our own worst critic for sure. And you know what? With that, we haven't checked the poll in a while. Let's check the poll. So today's poll, again, was first, let me, I just lost my place again I don't know why it does that, like resets it. But anyway, today's poll is, how do you feel about your editing skill or the process of editing for you? How do you feel about your editing process? And it looks like 57 votes. Holy Moses. 26% of you said, I am satisfied with my editing. 54% of you, so still good, more than half, said, okay, but I'm still learning. And then 19% of you said, I'm completely lost. And 0 of you said, I outsource my editing. That's kind of what I figured. I didn't really think anybody would outsource their editing. That's cool that you guys are doing it on your own, because it just makes you more self-sufficient. You can keep all of the money that you earn, right? You don't have to spend it on outsourcing to somebody else. But just know that you have the option. There are a lot of people out there that offer editing services, editing, mastering, formatting. And I would definitely recommend, if you are comfortable with your process and you can meet ACX's standards and things like that for audiobooks, to offer those services to other people, because some of them need it, right? Some of them get a pinch with several books in their queue and don't have time to do the editing and need to reach out to somebody else to help them with that. So definitely do that. Now I got to go back to where I left off, but it just spits me out at the bottom. So I have to find out where I left off. Oh, goodness. Okay, I think here we are. Okay, so we are at Isabel. Using Audacity at the moment, but a few weeks back, signed up to do a trial of Audition, found it super complicated, but I think I was feeling quite impatient that day, perhaps another time. And I have to tell you, if you're just at the point where you're kind of comfortable with one DAW, getting into a whole new DAW, of course, is going to be probably overwhelming and frustrating because everything's just a little bit different. And I felt the same way. But once I understood Audition well enough, it looked like I was looking at Audacity through a straw. Like it was like the whole world just kind of opened up and I could do and see so much more. But it could be that maybe you're just kind of like, I don't want to relearn all of this stuff today. I get that. Terry says, recording and editing my own book for ACX is great practice with the system and processes without risk. So y'all need to write a book. I agree. Write a book. How cool is that? Michael V says, perfect is the enemy of good. Yes. And there is no such thing. It can't be. Because everybody has different definitions of what perfect is, right? So just be satisfied. Just be satisfied. Chrissy says, I'll have to watch the replay later. Team replay. Have a time window now that I can fit some work in. Thanks for all the awesome advice, Angela. Yeah, I'm glad you were here, Chrissy. But yes, go get your stuff done. And for those of you watching after, please don't forget to hit the like button. I appreciate you. And maybe even consider subscribing. I'd appreciate that too. Dylan Holt says, when you are we're your own worst critic, it's easy to be your own worst editor. Yes, I read that completely wrong, but I know what you're saying. I always get an honest second opinion on my work from my wife. I have a tendency to over edit. And we all did. We all do. Yes, I did it too. And I didn't realize how bad it was until someone had pointed it out. Again, groups, people to tell you that you're doing it wrong so you can fix it and get better. But yeah, over editing is really easy to do. Barb says, one of the problems I have is certain words, sounds, THF, that's a V, and or look, have a reverb or make a Z sound. That's interesting. Okay, so I have a Z, you know what? It could be the microphone, it could be cables, it could be a few different things. It could be just the way that you're maybe, your proximity to your mic. We'll have to take a look at that too, Barb. Caesar says that dog training doodad is highly effective. Now, whenever I hear a sharp click, I repeat the last thing I said. You know what that means? Now repeat the last thing you said. Michael V says, congrats to Janeri. I love hearing about people's wins. I do too. Absolutely. Share those wins. Celebrate everything. Celebrate all the wins, even the small ones. Celebrate everything. Facebook user says, this is Colette. How do you fix Phil's reverb problem? With, as I mentioned, the treating of the space to covering all of your hard exposed walls, ceiling, floor with soft surfaces to absorb, the vibrations of your voice bouncing around the room. Supernatural Element says thank you at Musical Neptunian. Musical Neptunian says 2 supernatural elements. Not all DAWs are designed for voiceover. Audacity, Adobe Audition, Reaper, and Studio One are good ones to look at. I definitely echo that. Those are ones I would look at for voiceover. Caesar says to Phil, nothing to be embarrassed about. I'm telling you, I listened to old recordings back between 2012 and 2014, and I was surprised at how reverberant they were and how I couldn't tell back then. Yeah, because we get used to it. We don't catch it, right? Maybe we just don't know what to look for or what to listen for. And Phil says, thanks, Caesar. Joy says, hey, Joy. Joy says, hi, Angela. Are there such things as portable boots that can be set up on a bed? I want to work so bad. My voice and everything else works with me except for my knee. Yes, there are portable booths. What you could do if you've got someone in the house to help you, because I know you just had knee surgery. If you got someone in the house to help you, you could technically build a, what Anthony Pica, I don't know if you're familiar with Anthony Pica, but what he called his hobo fort, which was basically PVC pipe. And he constructed sort of like a cage around him, around his recording stuff, and then draped moving blankets or big heavy blankets over it. So it sort of created a little mobile booth. I think right now it might be a little hot in there, but it'll do the job if you're in there for, short little bursts. It's a possibility. It's an idea. Caesar says, Angela, my problem is that I keep buying microphones. Oh, yeah. Relatable. I have to rein myself in all the time. I want that U87, but I have to, no, pump the brakes. It's a lot of money. Caesar says, hi, Joy. If you can get an overbed table like a Lynx Pro VRI 50 vocal shield, it's freestanding with tiny feet. Then put your mic inside the shield with a small desktop stand. You could, but that only really addresses what's directly behind the mic. It doesn't really address anything above, below, behind you. That's really going to only affect what's directly around the microphone. So your voice is essentially still going to bounce around whatever surfaces are available and into the mic, apart from what's directly around the mic. So it's still the remaining room above, below, behind that needs to be addressed as well. Angela says, thank you, Phil. I actually just bought S1 and I'm learning it as we speak. Wanted something non-destructive. I'm totally starting over. And that's okay if you have to start over, right? Because in the learning process, we find or discover new things that could work better, but it might mean having to backtrack a little bit. And that's fine as long as the end result that you feel better about that end result is all that really matters. If it's a better quality product that you were able to deliver to your client, that's what ultimately matters. And you're more comfortable about it because it sounds better, right? Do it. It'll be worth it. Phil to Angela says, no problem. Joy to Caesar, cool idea. Thanks. Supernatural Element says, what is sibilance? Sibilance is the S's, that sharp sound that you get. That is sibilance. Sibilance. Supernatural Elements then asks, that was an auto mistake that I tried to unsend. Oh, sibilance? I bet you there's some people watching that didn't know what sibilance was, so it's still a great question. Raphael says, hi, Angela. A client was unsatisfied with my VO. I delivered a revision, and he took 7 days to say, still not good, and won't respond to my messages asking for a referral voice style. What can I do? I would say in this situation, I would ask the client to send me an example of what they're looking for. Because sometimes our interpretation or their description of what they want is totally not what they're describing in words, right? Because they could say, well, I want something that is conversational and upbeat. But if they send you an example, if they want, it's like totally announcery and like salesy. You know, it could be a completely what they're saying and what they're actually describing are just two different things. So I would ask him to send you an example, either of himself or themselves saying it in the tone and pace that they want, or an example of something else that they can send you. So you have something, you'll go, oh, okay, I know what you're talking about. And then you could try your hand at replicating that. That's what I would do. Caesar says to Supernatural Elements, sibilance is the very sharp, very harsh S sound that may happen when recording a vocal performance. Very good explanation, Caesar. It's the tss. What just happened? My comments just went. Okay, Dwight says, hi, Angela. I'm getting better and better over time, but it takes time. It does. I'm having an audio engineer make me an effects rack and workstations for different situations. Sweet. That's sweet. That's awesome. I'm so thankful that I did it. Facebook user Colette says, what's a decent desktop speaker? I have a couple of JBLs in here. I have JBL monitors, one on either side of my monitor, my computer monitor. I actually have them on my website, voiceoverangela.com, under the VO Gear tab. I have a lot of stuff under there that I recommend that I've either personally used or have worked with people that have used it, and they seem to be great picks. But my JBL speakers are on my website. I forget if they're the 600 Pros, but they're like little 6-inch speakers that sit on my desk. So I have my headphones, and then I also have speakers because, as we've mentioned before, listening to your playback on different speakers for different situations is going to help you to hear things that may not be evident in one versus the other, because your clients are going to be listening to these things on different kinds of speakers, right? Whether it's an audiobook over car speakers or an earbud, you want to make sure that it sounds okay on other speakers, depending on what kind of a voiceover it is, right? Caesar to Joy says, happy to help, and let us know if it works. And if you need any help adjusting the setup, you can hit me up anytime. Also, please recover soon. Yes, I will echo that, Joy. And then she says, thanks. Caesar's such a sweetheart, isn't he? You are a sweetheart, Squeezer. Tim Gleason says, I have a full license for Studio One V6. Nice to skip the monthly subscription. Too many subscriptions already. Yes. Yeah. There's a lot of things that go out on a monthly basis, but whatever you do decide, just make sure that it just, it makes sense. It makes sense for you and your business. And, there is going to be a little bit of investment and expenses in running a business, right? Dylan says, Hobo Fort, for the win. It's a great option in a quiet area. It doesn't soundproof anything, but it treats the space very well. Yes, thank you for pointing that out. As I mentioned with my space, it's not soundproof, but it's sound treated, meaning no echo, no boxy sound, right? So if there's somebody outside in the playground that's 10 feet outside my studio playing on the playground, that will more than likely hear them in here. So I try to record at times where there's not landscaping or something going on outside. So it's not soundproof, but it's treated for what is happening inside and into my microphone. But the hobo fort, the PVC pipe, and the moving blankets idea will definitely work as a temporary situation. Tim says, my first radio job was at a station with a U87. I want one. Loved it. Until someone trashed it with Lysol. Oh. Ow. That hurts. A flu was going around that staff. Oh, God. Oh, that's rough. That's rough. Joyce says, thanks, Angela. I get the specs from Anthony. It's really just PVC pipe with some connectors. I think he might have a YouTube video about it, but it's really just PVC pipe with connectors. Like, so you build your self a little erector set, sort of a cage, and then drape blankets over it with some clips. I'm sure he's got that stuff posted somewhere, though. Caesar says to Tim, that made me weep. Yes, it hurt a little. Supernatural Element says, y'all are great. Thank you so much. That's what we're here for. That's what we're here for. Is to talk it out. Raphael says, yes, I asked him for an example. However, he didn't provide it. Hope it won't negatively affect my JSS. Thank you for all your content. You're very welcome. I'm happy to pay it forward as I do. I hope I do anyway. And I'm sorry that he didn't provide it. I would say that you were open and willing to make sure that he was happy with the end result, but he was not willing to give you that opportunity. And for that, I apologize. I'm sorry that happened to you, but you tried your best to do that for him. Michael V says, my desktop monitor speakers are by Mackie. They sound fancy. Caesar says, Angela likes monitors, so she has monitors beside her monitor so she can monitor while she monitors. Kelsey V says, if I could time travel to when I first started, I would tell myself, skill building takes time. And louder for the people in the back. Skill building takes time. There is no need to rush. Rushing will help you more than it helps you. Can you tell I'm in my 20s? But you know what? These statements will apply to anybody at any age group at any point in this endeavor. To anybody doing anything. Give yourself grace. Give yourself time. Allow yourself, have patience. Because this takes time. You're building something. You're building a new skill. By golly, take all the time you need to do it. There's no rush. Kelsey says, Tim, no. Yeah, that's rough. Joya says, internet just came back on. We'll be catching the replay. Oh, no. There's been really weird internet stuff going on lately. Sorry that happened to you, Joya. That stinks. Caesar says to Joy, I was wondering where you went. Man. Facebook user. This is Allie Miller. Hey, Allie. How you doing? Skill building does take time and just 2 months. Not just 2 months. Right. It takes time. It could take years. It could take months. And for those of us that are open-minded and open to continuing to learn, which I highly recommend that you are, it's never-ending skill building, right? It takes however long it takes, right? Dwight says, my booth is a 4x4 by 2.4 PVC square suspended withing a 6x6.3 PVC square from the ceiling, covered in beautiful quilts, including Zodiac quilt on the ceiling. And of course, your hobo fort doesn't have to be Zodiac quilts. It can be whatever you want it to be. If you want to have that tapestry, you want to have some, go to the Goodwill and get, an old blanket there and use that, or moving blankets or whatever you want to use, as long as it's kind of on the thicker side. That'll work. But you might as well have some Zodiac. You might have had something cool to look at while you're in there, right? Michael Forsyth says, hi, Angela from Blaine, Washington. Well, hello, Michael Forsyth. Thank you for joining. I appreciate you. John Peterson says, thank you, thank you. I'm building a small studio flight sim cockpit under a loft bed. That is cool. I want to cut out as much editing as possible, so treatment is the next step. Treatment, yes, is the best step when we're talking about audio quality. Treat your space. Take the time to treat your space, because it doesn't matter what kind of microphone you have if your space just sounds like garbage, right? If it's not treated, it doesn't matter what microphone you have. I am Paximus. My boss walked in and said, what are you listening to? Angela. You're listening to Angela. My response without missing a beat, somewhat amazing. Skadoosh. And then he moonwalked out of my... You know, I wish that I had a situation like that. Although I did when I was listening to Anthony while I was still employed. I would listen to him on my computer while I was working. And then every time he would say, hello, Angela, I would start laughing. And then everybody would walk down the office and peek their heads in my door and go, what are you laughing at? Crazy person. So I totally know what you're talking about. But the skadoosh and the moonwalking, chef's kiss. I love that. Joya says dragon fort. That's right. Joya has a dragon fort. Mine isn't really a dragon fort. I have some dragon paraphernalia in here, but not as many, I think, as she has. Built with bookcases as a wall. Yeah. Michael Forsyth says, I want to get into this business so bad, but I am not sure what way to go. Any advice on video or courses I could start with? Soak in all of it. There are a lot of people sharing information on Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, just about every social media platform. So soak it all in. There's a lot of people on YouTube, specifically myself included, that are here sharing information for free. So take it, right? Take it all in, take what you can apply, and then leave the rest. Because there's not one right pathway to do this. There are several different paths to do this. And then also everybody's journey is going to be different too. Your journey might take a couple of months. Your journey might take a couple of years. Everybody's journey is going to be different. So just take in all the information and then just go. Don't wait. Don't get stuck in the procrastinating stage, as many of us do. I can't start until I have this, or I can't do this until I have this. Baloney. Just go. Ready, fire, aim, right? You're ready enough. Go, do it. Just record something, as Paximus says, and then adjust your aim as you go. Just get started. Don't wait. Just go. Supernatural Element says, I'm making my booth out of an old armoire that backs into a wall nook almost the same width. Gonna pad it up. Hey, it's getting creative in here. I like it. Dwight says, negative 70 dB. Yep, that works as long as the AC is off. Same. I still can't record with my AC on. It's still too noisy. Caesar says, when I first decided to go full into voiceover, I thought I could have everything set up in less than a month. I mounted a mic over my desk and called it a day. Months later, here I am with the studio. Same. I started in my living room on a glass table with my... It was so reverberant. I didn't even notice it because I was so focused on, hey, I'm doing it. I'm trying it. I wasn't even paying attention to anything else. So I get it. Yeah, I was same. I'm sure a lot of other people start the same way. We can laugh about it now, right, Caesar? Michael says, your show is great. Thank you. Well, I appreciate you. Michael. I'll just, a bunch of voiceover weirdos in here just having a good time talking about stuff, basically. Oh, me. Voiceover weirdo. You guys are cool. Joy says, wow, cool booth ideas here. Thanks, guys. Yes, ma'am. Caesar says, whenever I see supernatural elements, I think of Sam and Dean Winchester for some. I do too. You're not the only one. You're not alone. Phil says, Angela, can I promote my book on here? You absolutely can. Just don't put a link, because YouTube won't allow links. They'll filter them out. But if you want to, absolutely. I think, was it last week or the week before where Joya did it for you? But definitely go ahead and put your book on here. I'm all about supporting everybody else. because it's not just all about me. I'm not going to say, just go to my website and do my stuff and only talk about me. I'm not that person. I'm not that person. I'm all about lifting everybody everybody else, because when the tide rises, all boats, right? I don't know the saying. I don't know how it goes, but the tide lifts all boats, something like that. I don't know. But if I can lift everybody else up, if I could just do that one thing for you, then then my day is made. So do it. Do it, Phil. But I'm about to end. So if you're going to do it, do it. Supernatural Element says, Caesar, LOL. I don't know what that means, but I'm going to choose to believe it's a positive association. I think so. I would say so. And Caesar says, very, very positive. Agreed. Renee says, have you considered wearing cooling vests or neck coolers for when you get hot? I have, it's like an ice pack. It's meant for your neck and shoulders, I think, but you can wrap that around your neck when it's hot in here. That way you don't have the fans going. You don't have any additional noise. It's just ice packs. Or you could just, strip down to the swimsuit and ice packs, hair up, and just sweat it out for an hour or two. But, it's just kind of summertime in the booth, right? Everybody feels it. It's pretty much the same for everybody. A rising tide lifts all boats. Thank you, Dwight. Yes, that's what I meant. This is Allie. So glad you're here, Allie. It's good to see you. Hubby just finished building my booth and lined it with soundproofing carpet from Lowe's. Works great and very affordable. That's awesome. I'm so glad to hear that you're going to be back at it shortly. Love it. Joya says to Phil, you still own Miss a copy of the audiobook. Mm-hmm. Caesar says, I tried a cooling vest. Feels great, but I have really sensitive shoulders, neck. Supernatural Element says, Caesar, my name comes from the fact that I flip furniture, natural wood, but vibrant colors. And I use a fire, air, water, and earth to do so. That is cool. I love that. That is so cool. Do you still do that? So cool. Everybody go check that out. Michael says, thank you for the information and kind words to all of us. I appreciate you. And I appreciate you too. I think we all appreciate each other here, which is a good thing. Joya says, Cross of Destiny by Phil Sun on Am and Odd. That is cool. Amazon and Audible, by the way. Cross of Destiny. Everybody write that down. I'm writing it down again. I know I wrote it down, I think, before, but I mean, Cross of Destiny. Check it out. Phil says to Joya, of course. Allie says, I'm back. Good job, Allie Cat. Supernatural Element says, it's very Captain Planet. I love it. Love it. Dwight says, have you heard of anyone publishing their story-worth parents' books on ACX? What? Publishing their story-worth parents' books? No. No, I don't know. I'm not sure what that is. I have not. But if anybody else has any information about that, please share that with Dwight. Caesar says to Supernatural Elements, that sounds awesome. I tried flipping furniture once, but I threw my back out in the process. Yeah, I just trip over it mostly. I just trip over the furniture. I am Paximus says, with your powers combined, I am Captain Planet. Supernatural Elements. Oh, geez. So many comments. I do. Awesome. Cassandra says, I'm thinking about narrating audiobooks. When I was first introduced to the idea, I started watching all of your videos. Yay. Thank you. There's a lot of other great people on YouTube alone that share a lot of great audiobook information, not just myself. There are a lot of people here that are offering free information. So go find it and soak it all in. But thank you for watching. I appreciate you. Dwight says, way to go, Joya. Yes. Phil says, Angela, you skipped my promo. I did not. If it doesn't show up on my side, if it was filtered out by YouTube, then I don't see it. So I apologize. It wasn't intentional. It was not there on my end. I apologize. Cassandra says, I'm saving up to buy a mic and trying to find the right space to record. I'm thinking of recording in my closet, but it's smaller than your current studio, and I don't know how to soundproof it. I don't know. This room is pretty small. It's a 5x6 room. It's actually a storage closet. It's a closet. And all I did was, as I mentioned before, acoustic foam, like the tiles that you get on Amazon. And then over top of that, moving blankets. That's it. You're not going to be able to sound proof, but you can sound treat. So if you have other noises going on in other rooms, you might want to stop those or turn them off or tell, whomever to turn down the TV or whatever. But that's how you would treat your closet. Caesar says to Phil, was there a link in the promo? Might have been blocked by YouTube. That's might have been what it is. Because if it's filtered out, they're just not shown to me. Phil says to Caesar, I didn't put any link because I was scared of being blocked. Maybe verbiage. Maybe there's filtered words too, but it's okay. Joya got you. All good. Joya says, remember, YouTube won't post the full names of these. So that could be it. There you go. Joya got you covered. I am Paximus. Says, Angela, out of curiosity, do you have any events coming up on your channel aside from Tuesday Q&A, like a podcast or collaboration? I do have a podcast. I've had a podcast for a few years, but I've neglected it. But I've been told that other people that can't catch the live or the replay on YouTube are looking for another way to listen to this Q&A session. So what I did is I'm starting to post these sessions recorded, right? These recorded sessions. I'm posting these on my podcast as well. So there's just another format for listening to these Q&As. So I do have a podcast. It's called She Lancer, Mom Entrepreneur with VoiceOver Angela. I think the link is down in the description of these YouTubes. But I don't have anything else coming up on this channel. I am playing with the idea of having a couple of webinars, one on audiobooks. I'm thinking of doing this as like a complete A to Z type of a thing. It probably will take a few hours, but I'm thinking of doing some things in the future, but nothing concrete yet. Orshel says, hi, Angela. I think a UA87 is not necessary. The TLM 102 works perfect for VO. Yeah, I think it's just because it's like the grail, right? Although I don't have any Neumann products here. I have a Lewitt 440 Pure that I have. And then I also have a CAD 100, E100 SX. And then, of course, my Sennheiser. And then I have a Rode in my storage bin, an NT1A. So I have a few microphones, but like the U87 has always been like, oh, like cherubs wing it down to you. So it's not necessary by any means, but doesn't mean that I would still like to have one. Tim Gleason says, I have found that the Ford idea works only somewhat in a really live room. Since it isn't soundproof, your voice escapes your fort, echoes around the room, and comes back in. Yeah, you really have to like section it off, probably double cover it, give it a couple layers of stuff. But you're right. It's not going to be soundproof, but it at least will help better than sitting in an open dining room or something. And this is really going to come down to whether or not you use this, is really going to come down to whether you need it and you have no other options for where you can create your space, right? But getting creative and creating your space is definitely going to help. And then also taking in the opinions and experiences of other people on YouTube as well. So there's a lot of people here that will tell you how they built their booth. I mean, because we can't all afford just to go buy, a Whisper Room or a Soundbricks booth. I would love to have one. I just don't have the room for one. So I had to build something else. And if you're in that situation, you might have to get creative, right? And just build something that's treated. This is Colette. She says, love the webinar idea. Yeah, I'm playing with how to do that. So we'll see. Followed your Spotify. Thank you, Kelsey. I appreciate you. Phil says, yeah, I tried again and YouTube blocked it. Yeah. It's okay. Joy has got you covered. Joy says, Angela, a webinar on audiobooks would be awesome. Yeah, I think so. I just got to figure out the best way to do it so you guys are all falling asleep on hour 4. Caesar says, voiceover artists need a U87 as much as a photographer needs a Hasselblad camera. I feel like it's more of a badge of something, like a, hey, look at what I own. They're undeniably great, but ostentatious. Again, I would love to have one, but I know they're not necessary and they are uber expensive, but it doesn't mean that I would not still mind having one. But that's just me. I know it's probably a little much, but that's okay. That's just me. But guys, that's all that I have for you today. I will be here again next Tuesday, same bat time, same bat channel. I appreciate you guys spending some time with me today. I will be back next week. But until then, have a fabulous week, and I will see you all then. Bye.